Hey guys, what's up? It's me, Arden. Today I'm filming a video all about the Met Gala and the Devil Wears Prada 2. We're going to be talking about fashion, our modern fashion houses and the Met Gala ruining fashion for everyone. Also, just wanted to mention that I made timestamps and chapters for you guys, so feel free to skip ahead if you want. Comment below if you guys saw The Devil Wears Prada 2. This was obviously very exciting for us millennials. I think the reason why I loved The Devil Wears Prada 2, the way they framed modern issues, modern struggles working in fashion. Not that I work in fashion, but I think we all know what's going on with like journalism and print and just things being downsized for supposed efficiency and things like that. So I just felt like it was a really topical film. I also felt like it's one of the only sequels that I genuinely felt like they did right, because like there was like a real story to tell. So anyways, I want to talk about that and the Met Gala. The timing of like the two coming out around the same time is just crazy and very well done. How are modern fashion houses and the Met Gala ruining fashion for everyone? Or you can decide if that's the case. Just reading off my show notes on my computer. Why should we care about the role that ethics plays in fashion, in the fashion industry? Well, it is the part we play as consumers. Which designers, brands, and editorials we decide to support with our money and what we wear. The fashion industry is a reflection of culture today, more specifically, what our ideals are and what we find important. Historically, regal fashion was opulent. To elevate their status, showing off high-quality craftsmanship, and this clothing was often vibrant and or colorful. And I have a couple sources, one being Medieval Chronicles, under the section Royal Clothing. Today, fashion is still tied to status, but there are more options available. It is less universally high quality in terms of craftsmanship and beauty and architecture. Is hyper-capitalism to blame? Is it all about profit and not artistry? Let's see. In recent years, designer brands have tended to opt for simplicity, minimalism, and efficiency over beauty. Fashion is an art form and an expression of creativity, and therefore should be made with thoughtfulness and passion. According to the Medium article exploring the shift towards minimalism in luxury fashion, they quote that some brands in their bid to embrace minimalism risk losing their identity. The line between minimalism and monotony is a fine one. Striking the right balance between staying true to the brand's heritage and evolving with contemporary aesthetics is crucial. So even they admit that by attempting to stay trendy and relevant, essentially making their clothes more efficient or cost effective, they may be cutting quality corners and compromising their integrity, what like the brand stands for in terms of its identity, what it represents. There's been a trend of contemporary architecture and cars also lacking color. This idea of stripping away color from architecture, cars, clothes, and other important everyday items has seeped its way into modern life. It's perpetuated by the idea that companies need to appeal to the masses by using less bold colors that are less polarizing, and somehow less color is supposed to represent being more elevated. I'm not sure that I agree with that. By using less bold colors that are less polarizing, somehow it's supposed to represent this idea of being more elevated. The shift towards minimalism, low quality fashion pieces, and lack of color in fashion architecture is just the tip of the iceberg when it comes to fashion commodification. The trend to commodify is overkill. Designers and many brands are losing their essence of what fashion is supposed to be all about and what it made it great in the first place. One example of this is Paris getting Shein which is a cheap and tacky look for a city that is supposed to be the epitome of chic elegance and the fashion capital. When it comes to fashion and what we decide to wear, it has always been about status and identity. Who are we trying to be or say we are? But now it has become so commodified. Does the fashion industry itself only value status and profits and not even artistry anymore? A little blurb about the most recent Met Gala. Now with Jeff Bezos in attendance and sponsoring the event, it highlights a worsening situation of inequality and instances where the fashion industry values status over artistry by celebrating the 1%. This also sets a new precedent in cultural spaces. Additionally, it enables commodification with the association of Amazon being a player in the fashion luxury space. Amazon represents overconsumption and lack of careful curation and real taste. Now we're gonna get into some Met Gala fashion history because it's relevant, okay? Here's a quote from WWD from their article titled Met Gala History, How It Turned from Fundraiser to Fashion's Biggest Night. The Met Gala was founded in 1948 by Lambert, a renowned fashion publicist, as a means to fundraise for the Costume Institute and mark the opening of its annual exhibit. Lambert is the founder of the Council of Fashion Designers of America, established in 1962. The event started off as a fundraiser for the Costume Institute, serving as an opening celebration for its annual exhibit. Today, the Met Gala is still known as one of the biggest fundraising events in New York City. According to Forbes, the Met Gala has raised more than $175 million for the Costume Institute. When did the Met Gala transition into a more social event? Freeland was personally involved in the curation of not only the exhibitions, but also the gala's ambiance. It was under her time with the Institute that the event became more elaborate and celebrity-oriented. As the guest list expanded into the biggest stars of the time, such as Elizabeth Taylor, Diana Ross, Elton John, Cher, Andy Warhol, Liza Minnelli, Jackie Kennedy Onassis, Bianca Jagger, among others. It was during Freeland's tenure that the event started being held at the Met, and themes for the galas were introduced. These themes gave the gala a creative framework, encouraging the guests to dress in a way that reflected the exhibition's focus, which made the event more theatrical and visually compelling. Part 2 of this quote. With the addition of socialite Pat Buckley, the Met Gala cemented itself as one of the biggest, most exclusive charity events in the social calendar. How did the costumes at the Met Gala become more extravagant over the years? Over the years, exhibitions have also been dedicated to certain designers such as Yves Saint Laurent, Gianni Versace, Christian Dior, Chanel, Alexander McQueen, Schiaparelli, and Prada, among others. Under Freeland, the Met Gala became more associated with popular culture, thus becoming an event with immense publicity and press coverage. After Freeland's passing in 1989, Wintour took over as chairwoman in 1995, overseeing the benefit and the guest list. The gala has embraced social media's power while enforcing strict no live posting rules during the event to preserve exclusivity. Yet the red carpet moments are among the most shared and analyzed fashion events worldwide. Side note, also ticket prices drastically increased to about $100,000. Allure has made it a popular subject in film, television, where it symbolized the intersection of glamour, celebrity culture, and fashion. My take, it's turned into an event that is all about spectacle and theatrical costumes. It's more about being seen and what people are gonna say about you, and just the whole allure over glamorization of it and exclusivity of it. Like, who's on the guest list this year? Who are they bringing? What designer are they wearing? That sort of thing. At this year's most recent Met Gala, 2026, New York locals staged their own fashion show outside of the gala to celebrate designers, workers, and artists that go into making the clothes what they are, and to highlight the fact that the Met Gala is really only showcasing the 1% and celebrities, putting profit over the workers and the creatives that made it. A side note on undermining designers, The Cut published an article titled "Who Pays for Those $10,000 Met Gala Dresses?" They talked about Black designers in particular being largely underrepresented at the Met Gala, and it has nothing to do with their creative abilities or craftsmanship. To quote the article, "Black designers have largely been absent from the red carpet. The reasons are layered, but the lack of talent has never been one of them. Kevin Hall was one of the first Black designers to dress a celebrity for the Met Gala. In 2008, along with Andre Leon Talley, he designed an African-inspired dress for Kimora Lee Simmons. Since then, more Black designers have created looks for the red carpet. Dominique, I'm gonna say this name wrong, Oxlere in 2013, Dapper Dan, Victor Lee Maud, Telfar Pyre Moss, Virgil Abloh for Off-White in 2019, Kenneth Nicholson, Theo Philo, and Christopher John Rogers in 2021. Bianca Saunders, Oliver Roosting for Balmain, and Sergio Hudson in 2023, and Laquan Smith in 2024. But independent Black designers are still consistently denied the same recognition, resources, and institutional support as their white counterparts. Heritage fashion houses are still overwhelmingly led by white men and the industry's gatekeepers, that being stylists, publicists, and fashion editors have long prioritized familiar names over emerging Black talent. The research for this piece, which included talking with 5 Black independent designers and hours of poring over the Met Gala history, spelled out historically, Black designers have often been treated like an afterthought. Here's my take on all of this. We can call out powerful fashion figures and companies to highlight diverse talent and not to gatekeep access or resources to being seen and prominent at such events and cultural spaces. And to elaborate more on the protest outside of the Met Gala, I'm going to quote and highlight an article called "Forget the Billionaires, the Working People's Met Gala is the only event that matters today." Ahead of the gala, hundreds of workers, organizers, and advocates gathered in the Meatpacking District in downtown New York for the Ball Without Billionaires, a worker-led fashion show designed to contrast the one at the museum, according to TheRoot.com. And I am not even talking today about the poor working conditions of Amazon workers. If you want to know more about that, just look up the water bottles that they put outside of the Met. Yeah, it's not great. A new quote and source about elaborating on the protest going on outside the Met Gala, and to quote a news source titled "While Billionaires Get Ready for the Met Gala, Their Workers Walk a Different Kind of Runway." They're talking about some of the specific labor groups that showed up, like what they were trying to do. They kind of get at why they were in attendance. To quote, "Organized by a coalition of labor groups, including the Service Employees International Union, the Strategic Organizing Center, and the Amazon Labor Union, the event casts current and former workers from Amazon, Whole Foods, The Washington Post, Starbucks, and Uber as models, dressed by emerging immigrant and BIPOC designers like Cindy Castro, Abakaxi, Atashi, and Ricardo Deshawn." I'm so sorry if I said those names wrong. Actress and Lisa Ann Walter, and fashion editor Gabriella Carifa Johnson co-hosted the ball without Billionaires. Furthermore, according to the Roots article, Forget the Billionaires, the Met Gala remains one of fashion's most visible celebrations of wealth, influence, and exclusivity, all while everyday workers who actually power the nation are left without any recognition at all. And us people work harder than ever just to make ends meet in the trenches of 2026. The real question is, why aren't we also celebrating those who deserve it most in society? The emphasis is definitely on the celebrities and not so much on the people that work behind the scenes. To paraphrase Kathleen Newman Breeming, it's a night all about excess and spectacle. This event gets so much press coverage and public attention and discourse, it creates a real opportunity for public figures as well as those in the community to speak about real social inequality. The discussions and media attention surrounding the event might as well also represent the people protesting. And this is my take. Designers and those who work hard behind the scenes deserve more recognition for their contribution both to fashion and society. What does this all have to do with The Devil Wears Prada 2? We're about to find out. The Devil Wears Prada 2 calls out the downsizing of companies in the name of profit, fashion editorials kissing up to billionaires who have nothing to do with fashion, and even more parallels. So, influencer Jess Lucero made an Instagram reel pointing out the parallels between the movie and Met Gala. Really hard to not think that The Devil Wears Prada 2 is about like Jeff Bezos and what's happening in real life with the Met Gala in some way. Lucero, in a recent Instagram reel, says the character of Benji Barnes in the new Devil Wears Prada 2 movie is like Jeff Bezos. He acquires a fashion magazine for his new wife, Emily Charlton, kind of like Lauren Sanchez, being on the cover of Vogue as a new bride. So, you know, Emily in the movie wanted to be on the cover of Runway, and well, that's exactly what happened when Lauren Sanchez got married to Jeff Bezos. Between you and me, does Jeff Bezos really care about fashion, or was this coming more from his wife wanting that? Runway magazine is in all sorts of trouble with a bad reputation of supporting fast fashion and being financially backed by a man named Jay who knows nothing about fashion. This is not good, especially when Benji speaks of the magazine in the future not being run by people but by AI. That's his vision. This would crush the legacy that Miranda Priestley, who's supposed to be the Anna Wintour character, would leave behind. Everything she built and stands for would be crushed, ruined. The parallels are uncanny. Also, at the beginning of the movie, featured a whole scene all about the layoffs going on in journalism at the company where Andy was working. Before she went back to Runway. And Andy had been with them for years and was even an award-winning journalist. So she obviously had like a good reputation and journalistic integrity and made quality work. But she was laid off in the name of commodification over integrity and being a high performer in the journalism space. It's really a statement about current work situation across various sectors and not just print publications and journalism. Let's talk more about commodification, or as some people on the internet call it, the end-shitification of everything. The downsizing in the name of profits and making all these cuts that are going on, and everything to do with AI and fashion and art, artistry, and the workforce. Specifically, let's talk about the downgrading of quality fashion products and downsizing and cutting done to recent publications. Like an example of this is Teen Vogue has recently gone fully online and is not printing magazines anymore. So sad. But commodifying fashion is not an entirely new concept, but were we all expecting it at this scale? One recent example would be H&M. They recently used AI models in an advertisement. This issue goes further with H&M recently doing a campaign with AI models. This takes away jobs from real models and people like art directors. It's sad to see these cuts being made around a campaign that's supposedly centered around beauty. How can consumers emotionally relate to the campaign's images, ideals of the company when the ads are put out by computer generated soulless images as opposed to a real person conveying a feeling in an advertisement? So Teen Vogue Online published an article about this titled "H&M is tapping AI models, here's why it could be problematic." Sarah Ziff, executive director of the Model Alliance, sent out a press release on March 25th highlighting how this could take jobs from not only models themselves but everyone else working on the ads. Between AI clothing and AI models, the move points to consistency with which the fashion industry takes the fun out of style in favor of the quickest profit. Fast fashion brands use algorithms to pump out trends without the finesse of true design and then take the creativity out of a modeled photo shoot with a digital replicate of a real, living, breathing person. It begs the question, what is it all for? If fashion removes its people, then it's genuinely just about consuming. And that's not style or fashion. That's just soulless heaps of fabric. I felt like that was really well said. The main issue, to me, is the use of AI in the fashion space, the way it extracts from the workers. Particularly, it takes away the value that they bring to make their products, such as advertisements, what they are. You know, the value that they bring to these campaigns, to make the campaigns what they are. The campaigns are supposed to be amazing and good quality and artistry. Modeling for a creative direction campaign is an example of human innovation, creativity, and literally fabric shaping our culture. Models and creative directors should be people and create for people work that resonates with them. Art is effective when people can see a piece of themselves in it. Faster and cheaper is not better. I think this will make both consumers and those in the fashion industry lose respect for them. Let's wrap this up. In conclusion, it is useful to have a basic understanding of the history of fashion, specifically how it was a tool for the wealthy and powerful to show their status. It is also useful to understand the significance of fashion designers for luxury brands and legacy fashion houses, making them what they are: creative, high-quality pieces, artisan construction, which made designer brands have a good reputation for using good materials and making classic, long-wear, iconic pieces. Back in the day, the final product used to reflect the beauty and skill that went into making it. Now, mass production has lowered the quality of most of the clothes that get made for the public today. Further shifts in modern capitalism have led toward many aspects of daily life supposedly being more efficient, which in fashion means prioritizing quantity over unique creative expression and often sacrificing. And often the desire to create mass appeal does things like avoiding bold colors. The trend of commodification, which leads to bleaker clothes. The trend of commodification in everyday life has seeped beyond the products that get made and has infected the fashion event space. Be aware of who funds the Met Gala and who attends. This changes what it is really all about and represents. While it is annoying to see tech billionaires at the Met Gala who know nothing about fashion and are the epitome of excess, it just shows that fashion is in trouble financially and trying to relate to the younger generation to stay relevant by being overly flashy, highlighting celebrities and costume pieces clearly made for algorithms. It begs the question, which designers and brands are we supporting, and what are we choosing to pay attention to? Are we only engaging in content about celebrities who perpetuate trends, or obnoxious costumes that feed the algorithm? Or are we going to be more selective about the brands we shop, public figures we support, and choose not to support the Met Gala? Possibly. A supposed celebration of fashion and culture that undermines creative teams and workers behind the scenes, behind the profits, specifically those who make the clothes, while the Met Gala props up Amazon. And this celebration really highlights modern inequality and shoves it down our throats, showcasing fashion in a way that's, some might say, not tasteful or tone deaf. Forbes Prada highlights the fact that print journalism is in trouble due to commodification, and it is up to us as consumers and creators in these industries to have integrity and to care about the quality of work that gets put out. Like, the only way that we are going to save fashion, if you work in fashion, is to put out high quality work. Fashion is one example of an industry that serves the 1% and not the majority. Mayor Mandani told ID magazine the fashion industry is made possible by the thousands of workers behind the scenes, the seamstresses, tailors, retail workers, delivery drivers, whose immense talent and dedication deserves to be celebrated. Also, AI in fashion takes away from human invention and contribution. AI is supposed to maximize profit, but at what true cost? The Met Gala highlights the fashion and art world, but these mediums should not only serve the 1%. Journalists, workers, and others should also benefit from these innovations. Thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I worked really hard on this. Stay tuned for more exciting videos coming soon. If you enjoyed, give it a thumbs up, subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys in my next video. Bye now.